Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be making a footstep system, which if you walk on a specific material, it displays a designated sound that belongs by it. Like this is rock, this is for dirt. And if you sprint, it also changes the sound depending on how fast you're running. And if you stop running, it goes back to the normal sound. So let's get started with it. Alright, before we can jump into the code, there are a couple of things we need to do in order to set it up. What you need to do, go to Edit, Project Settings, search for Physical, and in here you have surface types, so you can declare your physical materials you're going to have. For the tutorial, I'm only going to be using 3, which is stone, wood, and dirt. If you have more, of course, you can just add them below here. I'm just going to use 3 for this one. I made 3 pads here, and I also got the sounds for them. So, next thing we got to do, go into Blueprints, Materials. I made a folder called Physical Materials. Right click, you go into Physics. There you have Physical Materials. Select Physical Material, create it. I'm going to call it PM_wood. Then I'm going to duplicate it. This will be stone. Duplicate it again. This will be dirt or grass. Now we're going to open them and then select the physical material name we just made. So which is, in this case, it's dirt. We got to check for dirt. Next one will be stone. And the third one is wood. All right, let's save that. Now you can close them. Now let's go into the character blueprint, since there we're going to be setting it up. Let me easily navigate it right here. So the first thing I want to create is the actual footstep trace, or where it checks on which material you're walking on. So I'm going to make a new function for it. So on the left, you have this plus, and make a new function. I'm going to call this footstep trace. And then we're going to open it immediately. Out of here, we just get a sphere trace by channel. And we're just going to set it by default on visibility. And the start will be get actor location. Straight into the start. Then we're going to drag out of it again. Search for break vector. And then we're going to split the struct bin of the end, where we're just putting X in the X, Y in the Y. And for the Z, we're going to do something else. We're going to get our capsule component. And then search for get scaled capsule half height. Another one, get scaled capsule radius. For the Z, we're going to drag it out. Search for subtract. We're going to add this one on it, which will be on the Z. For the radius, immediately in the radius, like that. Perfect. And then out of the sphere trace, we're going to get a branch. We're going to check if it hits something. And then straight out of there, we want to get surface type. And we're going to switch on that. So we're going to switch on all the physical surfaces we've created, which in my case are 3. Also going to break our hit result. And we're only going to get the location from it, which is, let me see where it is, location. I'm going to get a reroute node, close it again. And then for each one, I'm going to search play sound at location. I'm going to copy 3 times since you have 3 different materials. This is for wood. This is for dirt. Put them a bit closer together. And for location, I'm going to put all the location nodes in here. Now we've got to set up the sounds. So I already imported those. Link in the description for these sounds if you want to use them for your own. And I'll show you a little trick what you can do with the footstep sound. So let's start with dirt. I don't have the cue set up. I have these 3 sounds. I'm going to select them all with Shift, right click, create single cue, enter. Then you have this output here. what we still got to change on this is get this attenuation node and drag it in output, and then select it, use override attenuation, and then for inner radius I'm going to make a small one, like say 20, and then for the fall off distance you can make like around 400. Why I'm doing it like this, if you make this higher, it's gonna sound more 2D in my opinion, instead of having it actually sounding below you, since the footsteps are normally coming from the ground. So you want to have the fall off distance higher than the inner radius, so you hear it like muffled below you. You can still tweak these numbers, but in my experience this sounds the best. Also turn on occlusion, and then for the low pass filter 1500, occlusion interpolation time should be around 2 to 3, so I'm just going to play it safe, and then 2. This is all you got to do for the attenuation, and then save it. And then I'm going to move this to the cues folder, and I'm going to do the same for the other ones. Create a single cue, open it, drag this out, get the attenuation node, override, it should be 1500, and then move it to the cues folder. The last one should be for wood, if I'm correct. Oh, it's separate. I want a single cue, not multiple. Open it, drag an attenuation node, $400. This should be 1500. I believe I didn't do it on the other one. Let me check. I did. Oh, I did. Only this one is not correct. Nice. Now go back to the character. This is stone. I think I named it rock, if I correct. Yes. This should be wood, which is the same name. And this should be dirt and grass. Nice. All right, when you've done that, we can go to our event graph, and then I'm going to move this down a bit, and then this out. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a timeline. So right click, search for timeline. I'm going to call this TL, short for timeline, underscore footstep timer, and then open it. I'm going to make a track, float track, and call this alpha. And then this should be the value length should be, let's start with 0.7. Right click, add key, and then change only the time to 0.7 and leave the value at 0. Compile it, go back to the event graph. And then what we got to do, we got to attach the footstep trace on the alpha, which, if I'm correct, I didn't set it up correctly. So it should be an event track, not a float track. So that's my bad. And then this should be alpha. Right click again, and time 0.7. And now we can go back to the event graph and assign the alpha on it. Next up, we've got to go to the movement. And then when the movement ends right here, like on the last node here, move this out a bit. We're going to drag our timeline in, which is in components, and then on TL underscore footstep timer. And then we say play. But before we can attach it, there's a small thing that I'm going to change, because I have experience you can have bugs with this. Let's say you run against a wall, then your footsteps keep playing. So one way to tackle that problem is to add a branch. And then on this branch, I want to check my velocity if it's greater than 0. So what I do, right click, get velocity, and then get vector length. And then drag this out, and then say greater than. So if it's greater than 0, I want to play my footstep timer. So that means if you're standing still, you don't want to hear your own footsteps. That's why it doesn't always, normally you won't notice it, but let's say you run against the wall like I mentioned, you could have this problem. So it's safe to just implement this right away. Let's say get velocity, get speed. Let me name it correctly. Check speed. Okay. And then I also want to stop this. Let's say you stop moving. You want to have the on completed, so not on cancel. It's on completed. Then we're going to drag out our timeline again. Then we say stop. So we want to stop looping this timeline. Perfect. Close this up again. Move this a bit down. Okay, so compile this, then save. Now we can test it out. So how you can test this, you can either right click on your material. There's 2 ways to do this. So the best way to do it is to go to your material, open it, then you have physical material, and then when you add your physical material on there, I think I named it stone. And then for this one, grass, which is dirt. And then this one should be wood. Okay. Now let's test it out. You don't hear anything here because this is doesn't have a physical material on it. Well, as you can hear, it does work, but it sounds like it's playing all over again every single time. So let me, probably in the timeline, I have set loop. I didn't turn that on. So when I check it now, it plays singly. Yeah, it plays single instead of multiple times at once. But as you've probably noticed, it's really not aligned with my movement since I'm basically running. So how I can change that is I'm normally walking. So I'm going to change this to the normal walking speed, which is, I believe, 200, which is a bit slower, as you can see. And it aligns perfectly. Still a bit too slow. So what you can do with that, I'm changing it to 0.5. Same for my keyframe. And now when we test it, which is sounding a bit faster, let's check for grass. But as you notice, I can't sprint now. So we're going to set up a small sprinting logic as well. How you do that is we're going to make a new input action for it, which is, I believe, in my folder. You just search for it, IMC, default, and then make a new mapping. I'm going to copy it from interact, duplicate. I'm going to call this sprint. I'm going to add it here. Sprint is for left shift. And compile this. And then on here, I'm going to right click, IA_sprint. And then what we can do here is we're going to drag our timeline first. I'm going to set play rate. And for sprinting, you do want to have it a bit more faster. So it's like 1.75 for started. And of course, when you stop printing, which is completed, you want to set it back to 1 again. Like that. And then for the actual sprinting speed, we want to grab our character movement. And we want to change our max walk speed. Not get it. Set max walk speed. Duplicate it. And attach it. And then for my max walk speed, I'm going to make it like 450. And then when we stop sprinting, we want to set it back to 200. Make this straight. That looks nice. Let's see, I didn't attach my timeline here. So when we test it out now, this is just walking. And this is sprinting. Let's test it on the material. It's just slow. And now it plays faster. We check for the stone. Grass. I want to run on all three of them. It sounds perfect. And when I stop, it's just a normal walking speed. So yeah, it's a fairly simple system. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and it improves your system as well. And yeah, see you on the next video. Have a good day.